Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to This Week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap the Third Coast Grappling Kumite 3, the above 180-pound no gi event. I'm going to mess this all up. We're going to recap Fight to Win 145 and preview GrappleFest 9. As always, in the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
Good, man. Real good.
I didn't waffle that intro like I did last week.
Yeah, well, you got through it. Another weekend of tons of good jiu-jitsu.
There's some really, really good matches this weekend.
Yeah, man.
Gary Tonin making a return to Fight to Win.
Dude,
Sanji making a return to Fight to Win. Roberto Jimenez and Wagner. And, it was a good weekend.
Ty Rotolo,
Grandotti.
John Combs, yeah.
Yeah, we got Win Recover and Tiny Profero versus Fionn Davies. That preview for GrappleFest.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good show. I'm super excited to be here. Before we get into all the fun matchups, let's talk about a little bit of news. Some super weird news this week. This is not weird news. This is just at the top of the news list. Hoist became a police officer in some jurisdiction in California.
Yeah, I guess it's a reserve position, whatever that means.
I don't really know. Oh, okay. He's a reserve position.
I have no idea.
All right, so that was a thing this week. In other weird news, the Miao brothers, Joao and Paulo Miao, have left Unity in seemingly not a good split.
Yeah, it was surprising. It seemed to catch just about everybody off guard. I think Paulo posted
a couple hours before Joao, and everyone was like, is Joao leaving too? And then Joao was like, I'm also out. Peace, homie.
And the post contained, basically language in there that made it seem like it was not a cordial breakup.
Again, I'm also translating this from Portuguese too. So it's some of the stuff, especially the way that the Miao, one thing I noticed is whenever I translate stuff the Miao's right, it always translates kind of funny, maybe just the way they put their...
They use idioms and stuff.
Words together. It doesn't translate well, but it didn't seem like, and again, there's been a couple articles posted since then that don't make it seem like it was a good split, which is kind of weird because I thought that they were good there, but they've always represented Cicero Costa, even when Unity's been its own thing.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell, I
can't tell if they're going back to Cicero or I have no idea. But it's a big. Whenever there's a big team split on the show, we like to talk about that because it's pretty noteworthy, especially multiple world champion brothers leaving a gym that they've been at. I think since the inception of that gym, or really, really close.
Yeah, it was more or less from the beginning.
Yeah,
so
I know they were
been probably 5 or 6 years or something like that.
Something like that. I think for some reason I thought they were part owners of that gym or part investors, or I thought they were part of that gym until this now. I did not realize that they were just people there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they seem not so much interested in the business side of things and just focus on training and winning.
Right. Which they
do
very, very well.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, hopefully we'll continue to see them. There doesn't put too much.
I know we'll continue to see them. It's just where.
But
do we end up
hopefully it doesn't put
Yep.
a huge strain on them, trying to find a new place, and we get to see them kind of roll into the next gym that they are comfortable in, and keep seeing them kick ass because they're fun guys to watch.
I'm curious, where they end up. If they end up at a gym that, probably does not have as many. I don't think they would. They have no attachment to New York.
And that's my so do you move to a tropical paradise like Florida or California where there's also dope jiu-jitsu? There's a bunch of places they could move. Do they go back to Brazil?
Yep.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions here, so we have no information other than they've left, which was kind of done in a weird way.
Yep.
Kind of. In fun news, God, I'm excited about this. I looked up flights the day I heard this. ADCC 2021, the venue and the dates have been announced. Vegas, baby. We've kind of known, most talked about this for literally since last ADCC, but it's official. There's now a teaser and a trailer, and I'm hype, and I've already looked at flights, and you can't book a year and a half in advance.
Yeah, Mo announced it. He also talked about it on Reddit, which is really great. But
and on the Flow Grappling podcast, and pretty much everywhere.
The venue is huge. It's 19,500 people.
It's right next to the Vegas airport.
How big was the last one?
So the last one was 62 or 6,500. But again, they also oriented that in the Anaheim Convention Center in a way so that would give everyone really, really good viewing.
Right.
This one is. It looks like they're going to do stadium seat, full all the way around.
Right.
Versus the Anaheim one was configured in a way to give half the audience.
Yeah.
You're only going to sell half the audience space to give the backstage area and make it look like a concert.
Right.
So this one, I think they're going to do the full.
Well, my guess is they'll probably do one quarter that is blocked off because you need a stage in a backdrop, no matter
You can
what.
do like a fight event where there's the big cage in the center, basically. The mats in the center. I mean, there's a bunch of ways they can do it. Mo and Seth have my full faith in like how they did the last one, that they're going to bring this one to fruition, and it will be great. September 25th and 26th, 2021. I will be purchasing my tickets. I think the rest of the team will too. September 25th, 2020. As soon as those tickets, like for flights, go on sale. We're going to Vegas, baby.
Yeah, we'll be there. It's going to be
Trials
awesome.
is coming up too. Like
Yep.
Trials is getting close.
So that venue is 3 times the size of the last ADCC.
And the last ADCC sold out.
The last ADC sold out and broke the record too.
Oh yeah, by far.
So
And it was
this
the
event's
wildest
gonna be
shit ever.
fucking awesome.
I think they can do it. I think they can sell out that venue.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's-
fucking literally.
Like and they didn't go 80,000. They went like 20,000. Like that's like, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is the new era
Dude,
of jiu-jitsu.
even if they get half, if they get a crowd of 10,000, that's gonna be fucking amazing.
Oh yeah,
It's
And
gonna
in
the
Vegas.
energy is gonna be so high.
Like I'm gonna say maybe we're gonna be in Vegas for the week. I might make a vacation of it. I'm just saying. Rachel and I will be married at that point. Like
Yeah.
we're going to Vegas, baby. What else do we have? So yeah, that's also some trials dates got announced. Mo was going to try to do a trials in Australia. I forget exactly where he said, but like basically an actual Australian trials, because they had the Kazakhstan issue last year where the Kazakhstan trials got canceled, and so they're going to make one. And there's a bunch of guys from M1A that had flown out to Kazakhstan, and it was canceled, and it was a whole big thing. So Mo's got kind of working to make that up to them.
Yep.
I'm excited, dude.
And I mean, Australia now has like 2 of the hottest fucking grapplers, basically. Like Lachlan and Craig Jones.
God damn, I was like Craig, and I was like, right, Lachlan.
Yeah,
like the
dude.
Velociraptor.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited. But both those guys probably get invites anyway.
They get invites, but I'm willing to bet that jiu-jitsu they're going to grow jiu-jitsu in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, we see good guys come out of Australia. Like, there's a couple guys that we don't talk about a whole on the show, but like we watch that are in the Australian scene that are like, oh shit. And there's occasionally we talk about a couple of Australian promotions. Like the scene is growing, like in Korea and like a bunch of other places. So I'm happy that they get a trials because again, I'm hoping to see more talent come out of like other places in the world and globalize the sport.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Other cool news. So that's all I got for ADCC. Jake Watson versus Matt Layton has been announced for the 195-pound sub-spectrum title. They're doing a BJJ Woodstock event. Information about it is on our upcoming events page on the Grappling Rewind website. Let's see. Gordon Ryan got announced for Third Coast on July 11th. He's doing a charity exhibition match with Brian Marvin. Let's see what else I got. Brothers 8-man. Keith Krikorian took that. He had an armbar win. His girlfriend, Kay Hansen, made her UFC debut. Also got an armbar win.
Hell yeah.
Yep, and it was funny that a dude apparently put up like 35 or 34 grand on her fight, and then she ended up meeting him in the airport after.
No shit.
Yeah. So it was
God
cool.
damn, that's a
We've been
lot of
watching her
money.
for a little bit. Super good match. Looked good. The UFC this weekend was dope. We don't talk a lot about the UFC on the show, and I try not to talk about MMA too much on the show, but dude, Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker.
Oh yeah,
went
I saw the
at
highlights
it.
for that. Actually, someone posted the whole second round, and it was fucking.
It was
banger.
not round of the year, but it's in contention for round of the year.
Yeah.
It was a banger. And then I watched the whole fight. I watched the Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall fight, too. Dude, Mike Perry, we've covered Mike Perry on the show in, like, grappling events, because occasionally in, like, Florida events, he'll just, like, pop in.
Mike Perry's a purple belt. And
He's
yeah,
a good-
this past year we saw him compete, and he looked pretty good.
What was it? Was it on Jits King, I think? It was on the
can't
first
remember.
Jits King card, I think.
I do
Might have
know
been like a Psy card, might have been
he, but for all intents and purposes, out-grappled Mickey Gall.
Dude, look, he like a lat drop off the cage with his new girlfriend as the only corner person there, and
Yeah, and Mickey's a black belt. So
Mickey's not a bad grappler, but dude, Mike Perry got him out. Like it was an impressive, like grappling clinic. I was really, really impressed with Perry's grappling because again, I knew we've seen him on the show, and both times I think two times we've covered him on the show in like undercards for grappling events. We've been impressed with his grappling. Like again. We saw the split from most MMA guys probably like 10 years ago from like guys that were like grappling guys and like MMA. There's a level of skill that you typically don't see, but Perry like looked good. I was super impressed. Happy to see him get a win. It was honestly a super fun card this weekend, so it was a good weekend. It was a really, really good weekend for events and fights, and I had a great time.
yeah.
In other news, share the podcast with your friends. We plug it at the end of the show, but I realize I need to start plugging it more in news. That's like the best way that we grow the show and get more people to listen to the show, and it lets us do more with a larger audience. So if you like the show, please share it out with your gym. Some gyms are coming back, but if you listen to the show, we appreciate it. You want to move into the recap section?
Yeah, where do you want to start, man?
Let's start with Third Coast.
Okay.
All right, so moving to the recap of Third Coast Kumite 3. This is the under 180-pound no-gi bracket.
Under or over?
Under, because
Under, okay.
Roberto Jimenez barely made weight. And they posted on Instagram, I think it was a story or something, and it was Jimenez getting on the scale, and he was like 179.8 or something. And it was like, made weight. Good for him.
Yeah, so this is an 8-man tournament. In the opening round, we have our probably most anticipated fight, Roberto Jimenez defeating Tai Ruotolo via golden score backtake in overtime.
We thought this was going to be close.
Yeah.
And I called Roberto because I just been picking against him so much. I was like, I got to go Roberto.
You know what's interesting, too, is like, this definitely was a battle of, Roberto, his stand-up looking really good, being able to really dominate the match and dictate where the stand-up was going to go.
He was the bigger and stronger guy, and he had the length.
The other thing, too, is like I'm beginning to, having watched Jimenez a lot recently.
He's been on everything.
I get a better feel for his game, and his takedowns, particularly his back takes from body lock while he's standing, are savage.
Dude, that was on display a ton here this weekend.
A ton. And like it's clearly something that he goes for. Basically, when he's standing, he's going to try to body lock you and get around to the back. And if he gets there, I haven't done the math on it, but like there's probably a majority chance that he's taking your back. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure
he doesn't score all the time there because he likes the body triangle.
Right.
And we saw that I think at least 2 times this weekend was he would immediately get to the back, but he would throw the body triangle because he wants the control because he actually is looking for the finish. He's not looking to outpoint you. And in the Third Coast rule set, unless you get to 11 points, like you kind of need the sub there. So it was an interesting kind of piece I saw this weekend that he's going to get your back and he's going to throw the body triangle.
So yeah, Roberto takes Tai down and Tai, puts him into some deep leg lock attempts. And actually, we heard the commentary also say something that we've been observing, which is like, we saw Roberto, really the only times he's lost recently are from leg locks.
And I think
submitted.
Pedro got him with a guillotine at something.
Yeah.
At some point in the
past.
But
certainly since quarantine, there were twice where we saw Roberto looking a little bit vulnerable there. And so Tai was putting him into some dangerous places, but this time we saw Roberto very proactive with the defense. Like we
saw him more proactive than we have in the past. Like he was
this is just proactive. Like in the past maybe it was just the position where he was sitting and watching, and he needed to like maintain balance, and so he wasn't able to engage the hands and try to pull them apart. But this time he was on it like immediately each time, breaking up Tai Ruotolo's grips and preventing any submission.
They were still there for a while. I was really impressed with Tai's ability here, like because Roberto was kind of dominating the stand-up. He was bigger. He was strong. He might have been faster too, But when it went to the ground, Tai was immediately into the legs and like really actively looking for the finish there.
So they basically, no one's able to tech fall or submit in regulation, so it goes to overtime. Roberto had, I believe, 2 points from the takedown, and so he elects to go full guard. And this surprised Howell. Howell anticipated, Roberto electing to stand up,
and that's what I thought too.
It honestly surprised me a little bit. I remember when I was like trying to predict this match last week, I was like, I don't see Jimenez getting around Ruotolo's guard, and he was like, I don't need to even try to pass here. I'm just gonna go straight up. And what we saw, we actually saw this a bunch from Jimenez too, the closed guard work, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize until this week, and it's definitely a failing in kind of me as an analyst, how good Jimenez's closed guard is. Like
I've seen him use it before a lot, but this is the first time where I was like, oh, he has a system here.
Yeah.
It's not just that he wants to get to close guard. Like close guard is his ideal attack.
He's an actual in earnest close guard player.
Right.
Like, he wants to be in. He doesn't want to be in like a De La Riva or like at range. He wants to be in the close guard.
Right. And so this surprises Howell. I'm assuming he wants none of Ty's guard. And the entire time, while Roberto has Ty in close guard, Roberto's fishing for double unders. And his objective is very clear. And not only in this match, but in all of the matches, he wants to take the back from close guard. And so he just constantly works to take the back. At one point, he's able to destabilize Ty enough.
He just fishes and fishes. And eventually, like, you make a little mistake and he gets the leverage he needs.
Yep.
That's all that you see. I love watching these like little micro battles where it's like, this is what this guy wants.
Yep.
And he's just going to keep working through the sequences until he gets it.
It's amazing. As you said, Roberto gets a little bit of purchase, kind of collapses Ty's arm in between them and starts to work his way to the back. Roberto rolls through excellently and takes the back, basically. Initially, again, with the body lock, as you said, but he was content to get the hooks in, get the points in overtime, which just
as soon as you secure in overtime, it's one time we see Roberto kind of go from, okay, I've actually got to go for the hooks because I can finish it now, versus like, I'm going to go for the choke. You can win in overtime via choke or via points, and he kind of goes for the choke for a minute, and then he kind of just elects to go back to the hooks because he's in a better position to throw the hooks in. So gets it done.
Yep, Roberto progresses. Next up, we have John Combs defeating Pierre Leclerc via tech fall.
Dude, Combs does the most gangster thing in this match. He's up on points, he's been passing, he's been looking good, and you see he has to get 2 more points. And you realize, like, okay, he's going to get to the back. And John Combs goes, I'm going to go back to the guard and pass again.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, that is some confidence in your passing.
John Combs passes multiple times here. Really amazing passing chains. So cutting both ways. When a guy can comfortably pass both ways, it's just so much more difficult for the guard player.
And again, Combs is super fast, too. Yeah, he's super fast, and he's like run around you and then through you. Like he
alternates
weird.
Between the step on leg pass, like the leg pin pass, and the Toreando. And so it makes it very difficult. And twice he passes just by, Combs passes just by being so fast that he runs past.
Yeah.
I can kind of call it a Toreando, but honestly, it was just like a speed.
It's just like the guy's looking to invert on the leg. Like Pierre was looking kind of entering into the leg, and Combs is just out enough where Pierre kind of has to commit his weight forward, and then Combs can just like pop that front knee over and just step around it.
Yep.
And we see it occasionally, but not usually done this well. Like this is, again, Combs' preferred style passing. I think we saw him try this on Pedro Rocha at Kasai, and dude looked really good here. But again, going back to the close guard to get going back to the guard again on a guy just to get points for passing is like a gangster way to get passing because no one wants to go to the guard. So props to Combs, looked really good in his passing here.
Yep. Next up, we have Wagner Rocha defeating Cody Steele via golden score in overtime as a takedown.
That was one of the really few action points of the match. It was definitely a very wrestling tie heavy match.
It was. I do want to talk about the sequence that Wagner uses because this is also something that we see later on in the event, where basically they're head to head, and Cody he's not actively arm dragging, but he's kind of got grips on Wagner's arm, and Wagner has his arm like all the way extended, and Wagner snaps his arm back, which pulls Cody's arms kind of above Wagner, and Wagner uses that to duck under and get the penetration for a single leg. And faster than you can fucking register, he switches from a single leg to kind of like a back body lock, whatever you want to call it, like
high waist.
Yeah. And does an amazing leg trip for the single leg takedown to score the points. And
dude, this is the ADCC training, like, again, Wagner had looked good in MMA when he did this kind of stuff, but like you can see the level of wrestling in jiu-jitsu,
just the explosiveness
and the chain wrestling, where it's like the combo between like get the hand up here, I get in, I penetrate, I switch, I make the hip switch, I come in, I keep driving. I feel like there was like a 5 or 8 year period where a lot of that was lost, and now we're starting to see like guys sure up. He
also sticks the landing, and he sticks the landing later on as well, which is like it's impressive to do an explosive takedown like that, and also like retain control to the point where the person can't immediately pop up.
Right. I think we get that from ADCC too.
Yep.
Like because planting guys down and like settling the takedown it's so hard to score takedowns in ADCC. It's so hard to score anything in ADCC.
I think Wagner has some of the highest like grappling IQ like that I can think. Like he truly knows what he needs to do.
Rachel will watch a Wagner Hosha match. Because she's just like, he smiles at you the whole time. And it's like, and when he's not smiling at you, it's terrifying.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's the whole, like, mental aspect of it. But, like, in terms of him just understanding what needs to be done to win. Because now that I think about it,
Cyborg in your
ADCC, at ADCC, Wagner was also one of the few people to be asking questions about the rules. Like, he is very aware of the rules.
There was, like, I think there were like 3 or 4 questions asked that entire rules meeting, and like Wagner had a very what was his question?
It was actually about the muffler choke.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, Wagner had a question. What was it? Muffler choke question?
Yeah,
or
that's
Python as he calls it.
Yeah,
everyone else calls it the muffler, and Wagner's like, it's Python. We're all like, I love you, Wagner. It's the muffler choke.
Yeah, but anyway, just brilliant work by Wagner.
Yeah.
Adapting his skill set to win, exactly where he needed to. Next up, we have Pedro Marinho defeating Johnny Tama via guillotine choke.
There are many expletives in my notes here with this choke.
It was really dope.
Dude, don't let Pedro Marinho get your neck if you are not his size or greater.
Well, yeah, that's...
Dude, if you are smaller than Pedro Marinho, he has there is never a nice looking guillotine if the guy is more than 1 or 2 weight classes below him.
No.
Like, oh.
He's got that goon afterburner.
Oh my God. Dude, looked like he was going to take Tama gave him the double tap on the back as Pedro was trying to rip his head off of his body. And dude, Tama is really, really good. Nogi world champion in IBJJF, I think 2 or 3 weight classes down, but still like really, really good grappler that's not easy to submit. And Pedro gets that neck.
Yep.
And just...
So what was awesome was like Pedro chaining this off of a pass attempt, basically. Like, just...
The setup here was really
arm
beautiful.
and guillotine, sets it up off of the pass, and follows through, constantly follows him up and down, and, at some point lands on top, and it's just...
I really love, again, Pedro does a lot of stuff that I really enjoy in grappling. Like the way he follows the guillotine, and then he constantly is looking to mount with the guillotine, but what he does is a lot of times guys will mount and they give up pressure on the head in order to get the position to mount. Pedro does a cool thing where he's got really, really good balance, and so he's making this high step over to mount where you really can't block it with the legs, but he's also got his torso over top of your back still, his chest over top of your back to keep the guillotine. So he can make the step over.
Yeah.
He makes the step over and then he can set back on the guillotine still.
I want to watch this because now that I remember, one thing that he did was he cut an interesting angle to get the finish.
The finish was super weird. It's like Thomas tried to turn out, and
he's
Pedro
like perpendicular.
Pedro just walked around with the choke and almost finished it kind of like it. Sorry, not like a bulldog choke, but it was a very similar mechanic where it's like he just stayed on the head and allowed the opponent to rotate, but because he can rotate down still, he knows you can't spin out and through because it has good enough bite on the head. Super strength differential choke to hit it this way.
I have never hit an arm in guillotine, so I need to study this because I think they're fucking awesome.
Yeah, but go back and watch this finish sequence. It's beautiful. Like it is rare to see a choke hit like this against high-level opposition, and it's something special and cool. So that does it for the opening round. It was fun.
Yeah.
And then it kind of set off the rest of the fight. I was like, hell yeah, we're having some good fights tonight.
On to the semifinals. Roberto Jimenez defeats John Combs via Triangle Kimura in overtime.
Almost in regulation. So 30 seconds into this match, Roberto gets that body lock off of a scramble from full guard, and Jesus Christ. Well, it's sort of from full guard. Like, basically, Combs lifts Roberto off of the mat. Roberto So they're in
drops.
what's the word I'm looking for? They're in standing close guard.
Yep.
Where basically Combs is standing up, Roberto is locked into the close guard.
Roberto drops off, and
he doesn't even drop off though. He just has his arms locked and he just stands up.
Yep.
Like he just literally he drops his leg up, but he doesn't. There's no movement of the torso. He just stands up directly in front of Combs at like
and
the
immediately
nose to
starts
nose.
going for that body lock.
And he goes for the trip too. Like he trips in and then walks Combs forward because his hips are so close to Combs, he can just continue to walk forward.
And he takes the back.
Dude, it was a super tricky sequence. I was really impressed with this sequence.
Rolling that Roberto did, because Combs did like basically like an evasive roll,
Yeah.
and Roberto read it like a fucking book and beat him to it, and ends up on the back.
Super hard to do.
Yeah, it was so impressive.
I think it was so impressive. Flo put the highlight up on their Instagram. It was like, look at, I think Flo and Third Coast. I think Third Coast tagged Combs like, I'm sorry, Combs, I had to because it was such a good sequence.
Yeah, it was fucking dirty.
Oh yeah.
So you know, and Roberto's on the back. He has a body lock.
Hooks.
He's fishing for that submission, and you know, to Combs' credit, he's able to escape after a little while, and at one point actually ends up on top, and Combs is attempting to pass now, and this was hilarious because the commentary called it. They were like, right before it happened, I can't remember which one of them said it,
Probably
but they were
Hal.
like, I don't think it was Hal. I think it was the middle guy.
Picture guy.
But he was like, yeah, you know, like Combs has to watch he's using his arm to push out on the leg here, and that's dangerous. You know, Roberto can like get the triangle, and pretty much as he finished that sentence, Roberto shoots the triangle and gets it, adjusts to a reverse triangle, and just starts yanking.
He adjusted back and forth, I think, twice. Like he gets there, he adjusts, then he adjusts again, and then he kind of like cinches to where he wants.
Yeah,
in this choke.
He starts yanking the. He's not using it as a choke. He's using it for control.
Well, you can choke this way, and given where he is positioned in this, he is actually applying the choke on the one side because he pushes Combs' shoulders together like this. It does choke a little bit, and it's really hard because as soon as you rotate the shoulder that he's fighting inside, you can still actually get the choke. This is really similar to what Ferguson hit Kevin Lee with, that reverse triangle choke.
He was going for the
he wanted the
lock.
arm.
There was no choke there.
Dude, Combs, to credit in Combs here, Combs does a really great job. At one point, like Roberto's going for the arm with like 30 or 20 seconds left, and Combs' hands come apart, and then Holmes is able to like flex his hands back together.
Yep, and so like seconds are burning off. There's like, as Maine said, maybe 20 seconds left, and Combs is able to stick it out, and doesn't tap, so it goes to overtime. In overtime, Roberto again elects for closed guard, and I forgot that sequence with him posting was actually in the overtime. So
the two setups look very, very similar.
So basically, Roberto puts him back into a triangle, puts him back into a reverse triangle, goes for the same Kimura, but now has like 5 minutes.
I think he had about 4 minutes to work.
Yeah.
At that point, again, I love Roberto because week to week, 2 weeks in a row, he has nifty triangle setups that he shows us twice.
Yep. Exactly.
And it's
great just to see him implement his game.
Dude, his closed guard triangle. And this week, what I'm kind of taking away from Roberto is that, like, dude has a crazy good closed guard, and he's got a super dynamic triangle game.
Yep.
It's going to give a lot of guys problems because the way he like sets it up is really good, and then his finishing mechanics are really, really good too. So it's like,
yep.
Yeah, I'm super hot on that aspect of his game.
So next up, we have Wagner Hosha defeating Pedro Marinha via golden score takedown in overtime.
Similar to the steel match.
Yep.
You know, a lot of standing. Like it was both dudes consented to have a wrestling match, and Wagner has good wrestling. So in overtime, you think anything on the regulation side of it?
Not really, no.
Wagner shoots a takedown, and again, it's just a nice blast double. And Pedro, you see, there's a moment of hesitation where it's like, do I sprawl or do I guillotine? And Pedro instinctively kind of goes for the guillotine, and then tries to lift up and kind of like rotate Wagner. But Wagner, again, having the wrestling credential he does nowadays, sticks him down, and then is able to pull his head out of the guillotine and get basically follow Pedro when he tries to stand back up and get the points.
So this was wild. Like the overtime was wild because it just reminds me that Wagner can take a position like 50-50 and make it exciting. Like we saw him
this piece of it.
Taquinho have a really exciting
had
no-gi
like
battle.
the best 50-50 battle in a while.
Yeah.
At Fight to Win, like I forget what Fight to Win it was, but a while ago, when Fight to Win.
So Pedro elects to go for closed guard. He goes for a knee bar. Wagner nearly takes the back of it, and they end up in this 50-50 awesome battle. And I mean, like Pedro is like setting up some really good 50-50 sweeps, and Wagner is jumping into the air and doing like a full 360 spin to like land again on top and prevent the sweep points. Just, again, amazing awareness of the points.
I feel like 50-50 is not a place I want to be with Wagner Hosha.
No, he's
really,
comfortable.
He's really, really good. I think of all the guys we see play 50-50, he has the most complete 50-50 game. Him, Tinquinho, and... like, there's some guys that are probably better leg lockers there, but as far as, like, using it positionally and being able to submit and able to get in and out of it, like, there are few guys as good as Wagner Hosha at that.
Yep. It's just awesome awareness. And they end up on the feet. So initially, Wagner actually hits the same single leg to, like, high hip trip, but they go out of bounds and reset with no points. Then Wagner goes for the blast double. It was great again to see when guys have a thing that they're going for. It's extremely high level, and as the commentator said, that first takedown, that like high hip takedown that Wagner hit in ADCC rules would have won him the match. But that doesn't faze Wagner. He's just like...
I think Third Coast is going to expand the barrier on the mats to let that happen a little more. There was a discussion, I think an Instagram post that they made discussing some like... They're looking at some changes to the rules after a couple of these Kumite. It's like, okay, there's some things they're looking to adjust. And I think that they will look at the mat size there because there's been quite a few like edge cases on the mat where it's like the takedown starts well into the mat, but these guys are super dynamic, so they run and... ends up off.
Yep. On to the finals. Roberto Jimenez defeats Wagner Hosha via ref's decision. Man, this was so good. Roberto snakes to the back from bottom half. So again, he's just
like early in the match too.
Yeah, he's constantly fishing for the back. He gets on Wagner's back, he takes it. Wagner stands and slams Roberto. He just like launches himself backwards.
And the commentary goes, "Is that illegal? That's legal. You can do that. You can do that."
Yep.
And then the way the commentary talked about it, I was like, I'm not sure if that is legal. Like the commentary made me suspect of the legality of that.
Yeah, it's definitely illegal.
Yeah, but I was like, that's Wagner. He gets one.
Well, no, I mean in Third Coast you can slam. So, in overtime, Roberto elects to take closed guard again. And this is interesting because this is where it does not go like any of the previous matches. The other matches, the guys were attempting to, and I'll say pass, but not really. They were on their knees.
Yeah.
And Wagner's like, fuck this, and immediately stands up.
Again, Wagner's a veteran.
Yeah.
So, interesting thing about the Third Coast rules. So, in my understanding, I could be incorrect about this, but my understanding of how Third Coast runs everything is that if something is going to go to decision, which this match goes to, they judge just the overtime in that decision. So, I think here, clearly, Roberto getting onto the back of Wagner and working for that choke during regulation wins him the regulation. We go to overtime. Wagner identifies, cool, Roberto's been doing really well versus guys in the close guard. I want to be an active passer because my passing is extremely good, and I've not seen less from Roberto, but he's definitely not as strong of an open guard player as he is a close guard player.
Yep, and that ends up playing, definitely to Wagner's advantage. And
almost 2 times he does like a nice like drop step pass.
3 times, dude.
Is it 3?
Yeah,
I counted 2 in my notes that it was like I thought were super close. One of them was really, really close.
I mean, super duper close. Yeah. And the commentary were like talking about like, oh man, he's got so many options. You could like Kimura trap, he could twister, and I was like, no, he's trying to fucking pass because that ends it immediately. Yeah. Like he just needs to settle, and there are. He got past the legs. He just didn't settle a couple of those times there. But
because Roberto did a really great job of like continuing and regarding, and Roberto was doing a really good job here, trying to hit like a double ankle sweep a lot, because Wagner tends to get super close to you when he's trying to pass around, especially because Roberto's got such long legs and he can create that distance. So Wagner has to get a little bit closer. Wagner's balance is
just too good, man. He's too good,
and he hits him I think 2 times, like where it's like up, and Wagner just can like high step out of it and get done. So I would have given the overtime to Wagner based on the close passing attempts. Judges give it to Herman. Again, I don't want to say like, oh, I would have given it. It's like it was a super close overtime. You know, there were definitely there were pass and sweep attempts from both guys. Roberto definitely.
The commentary also thought that Jimenez won it, but I'm with Maine on this. I just thought if you're judging by the overtime,
just the overtime. But again, I think you and I also score the top player and passer. We score much more closely when we do decisions by ADCC rules, where it's like I'm looking for the person who's initiating the position and the person who is actively looking to pass from top position versus like the sweeper. So it's like I'm definitely biased. If you do it by IBJJF tends to favor the guard player, and because third coach uses IBJJF. So that's, I think, probably why I, in my head, had it as Wagner, because I don't score typically for decisions like IBJJF scores, because more promotions that we cover typically use alternate scoring. And so, but again, it was a super close match. Roberto Jimenez, 10K, gets one. Like,
it's
looked awesome.
Looked great.
Super fun bracket.
Like, not just looked great, but like did that thing where it's like, I feel like every week that I watch Roberto Jimenez, I learn like a little bit where I'm like, man, I should see if I can incorporate that into my game.
He's got a lot of really, really good pieces that are, they feel like they're takeaway pieces in his game. Like a lot of those guys have games that are like, not, I don't want to diminish Roberto's game, but like have a super complex where it's like you need all of these pieces and parts to work. And Jimenez has a couple pieces that's like, oh cool, I can take that particular thing you do in the triangle and take it to me. Like, oh, that particular thing you do from the back, I can take that. Like, there's a couple things. Again, I'm really hot on Jimenez's game. I like what he does. I think he's underrated, or not now, from the guard. And his triangle game is something I'm super curious to see how we'll see it progress in the future, because he's triangled, 3 guys in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, it's a really, really good. We'll talk about super fights.
Let's do it.
2 super fights I want to talk about. Andressa Sintra defeating Maggie Grindotti via
armlock,
armbar. Jesus. Fun match. One thing in this match that was really interesting was you saw Andressa. It was a very, very grip-heavy match. And Andressa, throughout the match, like, you saw her kind of, like, learning what grips Grindotti wanted, how she wanted to address it. And then it was, like, a slow-paced match. Both were working. And then in the overtime, they basically ended up resetting to the same position. And you saw Andressa, like, the tone of the match shifted. And Andressa now knew where she wanted to be, knew what grip she wanted, and started, like, much more actively, like, opening up. As a result, Grindotti starts much more aggressively looking for, like, stack passes and, like, what I call deadlift passes. And on one of these deadlift passes, Andressa has the grip she wants and hits a beautiful transition to an armbar and is able to finish. Like, I'm kind of upset that the camera angle is facing the opposite direction, so I'm looking at Andressa's back here as she's setting this up, because I'm curious to see if she had to make any grip switches or exactly what she was doing kind of to counter the deadlift pass from Grindotti. But really, really beautiful sequence in the overtime to get the finish in overtime. So, great sequence. Other match, Lucas Valente versus Pedro Rocha. Again, Lucas Valente wins in golden score. There's one sequence at the end of the match, the scoring sequence that I want to talk about, and again, great collar sleeve work from Valente on the bottom, from Valente on the bottom. At one point, he's playing like a high, like lasso guard, and Pedro strips it with a stomp pass, basically. And Lucas goes down. He doesn't daily heave with the same leg that gets the grip broken. He rolls under, goes to single leg X, posts on the outside of the leg, and then lifts up and does a tech up in order to get the sweep. Super, super, like, great sequence. And again, as a guy that I play a lot of that lower daily heave to single leg X position, and in the X guard, it was a really cool sequence because you see Lucas deciding not to go daily Hiva on the same leg as the grip was broken, but to go underneath and then to roll through, because now he can beat Pedro's hips, where Pedro's going to have to square and force him to get knocked over. really, really cool sequence. Again, the whole card was great. A lot of fun matches. A lot of like really good takeaway points too. And I think we're going to see a lot more from probably everyone on this card because this card only had banger grapplers on it.
Yeah.
So
all of these guys are super fun to watch. So
yeah. Great short card too. Again, I'm liking these shorter events. They're just like to the meat of the card. There's some great undercard matches too, and some other super fight matches that were a lot of fun. But again, I don't want to just talk for 3 hours about a single event. It was a lot of fun. You can watch the whole replay on Flow Grappling. Move to the next one.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's move on to the recap of Fight to Win 145. This is Fight to Win's last event in Dallas for a little bit. I think they're moving to Austin in 2 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks? I forget exactly what. They don't have an event announced right now, but they'll announce one, and that's what they'll move. But I think they've been in Dallas for, 6 or 7 shows. So it's been awesome to see them in Dallas. They were set up. This card featured the return of Sanji, and we got to see Gary Tonin again for the first time on Fight to Win in a little bit.
This was awesome. Sanji Ribeiro defeating Gabriel Almeida via armbar.
2 years.
2 years. And had substantial surgery in between, wrist surgery, I think.
Yeah.
Something else.
Well, that's what took him at ADCC.
Yeah.
The wrist cert hand surgery took him at ADCC. He had to drop. He was like, I want to do it, but I literally can't train like I need to because my hand is so messed up. I have to get surgery. Got the surgery. Big question, especially in the gi, like, is it going to be the same Sanji? And he was like, yeah, I'm the same dude.
Dude, this match is so good. There's tons of back and forth sweeping and submission attempts from both guys.
That first toe hold
Gabriel
hits, because and it was right off the bat too. Because again, I loved this match as a viewer, and it kind of take away the analyst piece just as a viewer watching this, because we haven't seen Sanji in a couple years. Like, Gabriel's very good. Sanji is like world-class elite level, but we haven't seen him in 2 years. And so you always wonder when a guy comes off a big layoff, like, is he just going to get flash subbed? And so the match starts, and Gabriel locks on this toe hold, and it looks deep. And I went, oh no, is he going to catch him immediately? And Sanji, veteran, locks back in, defends the toe hold, and then kind of just kicks into the next gear. Yep. That was the biggest kind of sub offense I think Gabriel had on him the entire match, was in that first, almost like that first exchange.
Yep. Yeah. Tremendous work here by both guys. It's really kind of like, as I said before, back and forth. Sanji hits multiple times just these great, basically variations of the same sweep and takedown, which is the knee pick with a pant grip, where he just does not.
He's known for.
He does not give up at all. Just follows through multiple times. The ending sequence is so good. Sanji is passing basically, and he transitions from a weave to a knee cut to a Marcelo style like half guard pass, and then goes to 3/4 mount. And from 3/4 mount, threatens the collar choke to set the grip. And so with the side, how it's the same arm that you would be choking if you were trying to chain a knee cut with a choke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So he has that arm, and Gabriel is trying to deal with that choke. And Sanjay then takes his free arm and snakes that in between Gabriel's arm. He distracted him with the choking arm and gets an arm triangle grip, basically. And from there, it's like watching a drill flow.
Dude, it was
then
so
from
good.
there, like the whole sequence goes from this collar choke to the arm triangle to a key lock and you can see Sanjay kind of just pensively going through, like this was a submission chain that he drills clearly, and
his entire career. And then what's really dope is once he has the key lock attempt and kind of like the arm bar grip, that's when Sanji starts to lock in the full ending sequence, where he's still in 3/4 guard, but he's high enough up that all he has to do is just step his leg up and out into technical mount. And then, by the way, not easy to do.
He made it look
the
so
entire time
smooth
that he's in that 3/4. I went he is going for this. He's just gonna step out of the 3/4.
Yeah.
And then I was waiting. I was like, I think he can do it. I don't know how on earth he's going to do it. and then he just sets it up. He lifts, and then he just just steps out of the guard.
I think what happens is like when he starts going through the sequence, right? When he's going for the arm triangle, he's pretty low on Gabriel Almeida. But by the time he gets to the armbar grip, his non-trapped knee
is like over top of Gabriel's head still.
His non-trapped knee is now more or less behind Gabriel's head. So he's very far up now. And I think that gives him the space to just very easily. I think that's why it looked like a hot knife going through butter. He was so high up on Gabriel by that end of the sequence that he's able to just pick his leg up like there was nothing preventing him from doing it.
It was it's really cool to see because we see guys get caught like going for subs like this from the 3/4 a lot where it's like they get stuck in the 3/4, they just can't do it. So to see a guy to see Sanji's positioning and he's just able to get far enough out to make the leg that easy to free and kind of the effortless way he frees the leg there.
Yep.
For me was super cool to watch.
To give you an idea, basically another way to think about it is during this sequence when Sanji removes his leg, his hips are already so high up. He's in the armbar position.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has already worked his way up into kind of like a 3/4 technical mount.
Right.
So high up that I think that's what makes it so easy for his leg to come on out.
It's cool.
Awesome
I'm so used to seeing guys getting tripped up there. Mm-hmm. It's cool to see like a super high level guy like Sanji be able to just make it work and make it work so smoothly. So I think that's the difference is most people, even at like the high level, can't get that done. So it's really cool to see a guy like Sanji do it. I gotta think it was awesome to see Sanji back. I hope that we see him more.
Gets the submission. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see more of him.
Now that he's in the Fight to Win roster, you're like, oh, he likes it. He gets paid. He's
what's interesting is like he's been out for so long that Fight to Win wasn't a real like it had begun, but it wasn't what it is now.
No, I mean they had Cyborg, they had Lovato, they had a bunch. They had Gary Tonin, they had Mackenzie Dern like back then, but now it's like they got everyone.
Yeah,
like everyone.
They got everyone, and like it's every single week. Whereas back then it wasn't, and like
I don't think it was every single week back then.
Because like
well, again, so I kind of got to speak. We started covering Fight to Win at Fight to Win 53.
Right.
So we've covered almost 100 Fight to Wins. They've run some Subversive cards and some other cards as well. We've covered about 180 Fight to Win events. They've almost, I think they run about 40 events a year since we've been covering them. But I don't know, Seth talks about it a little bit, like the first, how they initially started running grappling cards. I don't know what frequency they used to.
Well, regardless, they are very well paying now. It's the probably definitely in terms of frequency, the promotion.
It's the most frequent professional promotion in the world. They put on the most events. They put on the most matches of any professional event in jiu-jitsu. And they do a good job. And they got dudes like Sanji, and I'm super excited to see him.
Yeah, exactly.
Every quarter, we'll see a Sanji match, hopefully.
Yep.
Which is awesome because we haven't got to cover him in 2 years.
Yep.
So
next up, we have Gary Tonin defeating Osvaldo Coutinho-Moisinho via heel hook.
I fucking love watching Gary Tonin fight and Fight to Win.
Yeah.
Because Fight to Win is the quintessential Gary Tonin rule set where it's just like, Gary Tonin can fight positionally. He can win on points. He can, like, very, very good grappler. I don't want to take away from Tonin's skills here. But when you don't have to do any positional stuff and you just get to watch Gary Tonin throw subs at a guy and passes at a guy for the duration of a match,
it's pretty dope.
Pretty great.
His conditioning is through the roof. Gary's probably one of the first in my time doing jiu-jitsu, in my awareness. He's the first complete grappler that I started to follow.
He was EBI. Back Gary.
Well, I mean, like not just EBI. I mean, I'm saying complete in terms of like his wrestling is phenomenal. His submissions are phenomenal. His passing is phenomenal. His guard work is phenomenal. His
sub game is phenomenal.
Right. And now there's definitely a lot of guys that we can say are complete grapplers. People like Dante Leone, but Gary was like the first one that I started, following.
Yeah, on like a personal note, like you were following that. Yeah.
So this match was phenomenal. Clearly, Coutinho was concerned with, understandably, the leg locks. And
I would be concerned. I'm fighting Gary Tonin.
Yeah. And definitely seemed like he was hip to a lot of it. Before we start talking about the end sequence, there's another sequence that I want to talk about here, which is did you catch this? The Gary's kind of like leg weave. So
there's a lot of leg stuff that happened in this match. I have notes on the final sequence.
Pass. Sorry, it's from top half passing. So think about Coutinho basically getting having his legs in a position that's kind of like a John Wayne sweep.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So Gary's arm is threaded through the knee shield, right? And this is so dope because I have a gi passing sequence that I really like from this called Crazy Dog, where
I know what you're talking about.
Where you do that weave and you grab the bottom
of the
knee
skirt.
or the ankle. You know, you could you grab the lower leg somewhere on that shin. And with the gi, you can grab it, and then you get that leverage that you need to kind of begin initiating your smash pass. In this case, Gary does that leg weave. It's a no-gi match, so you don't have the gi to grip, but he reaches through to that far hip, right? And then he does a back step to get around. And he then, it looks like he pauses here, and he goes and inverts like he was trying to maybe get to do a full inversion into a knee bar position.
Right.
But then he stops and he just keeps going with that back step and comes up into a single leg. It was such a fucking dope sequence. And it was like...
It's funny. So I saw the sequence and I had missed that he used that hand position to get there.
Yeah.
I thought he had just bailed on the knee bar and then go for single leg.
The whole time he has that leg...
That makes much more sense now.
I don't know what to call it. It's not a weave, but it's like you thread your arm through that knee shield.
It's like a weave.
Yeah.
It's a weave.
You grab the far hip. Such a slick... I really like that a lot. You know, just another one of those like slick moves where you're like, okay, I don't have a fraction of Gary's like grappling awareness, but I would love to add that to my arsenal because in the gi, I do love that. Position.
But it's cool to see guys like incorporate. Like, for me, I know that as a gi position.
Yep.
Like that passing that style of passing where you come all the way through because you kind of need your arm is so far through on the leg. You feel like you need something to grab on to kind of anchor into place because it's turned. The muscles can't engage properly because the leg's in the way. But Tony can get it done without the gi, which is really cool.
Yep. So they reset with Gary passing. And Gary begins to pass by pinning Coutinho's leg, standing with both feet on his leg.
So like the Rotolo style passing is what I know. It's leg pin passing, but Rotolos were the first dudes that I saw use this almost exclusively, and we're seeing.
So they got it from the Mendes brothers.
Yeah,
it's an AOJ like, you know. Arsenal.
Right, but we weren't covering the Mendes brothers when they were competing. Like,
no, I know, but
like we haven't seen a whole lot of people. Right, I give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
like
I explained that really poorly.
Yeah.
So the current guys in the meta, again, I haven't seen it a whole lot since the Mendes brothers were using it. The Rotolers are using it. They used it at Who's Number One. They used it at ADCC, and then all of a sudden, Gary Tonon's going, you know what? I'm gonna almost exclusively pass with leg pin passing.
Mm-hmm. And what's really cool is like, you know, Gary starts to pass, and actually he does this twice. You know, he attempts a pass while he's standing. He resets and he goes back to it. And the second time he does something that's so fucking clever. This is why I love watching Gary Tonon. It's like he has so many weapons. You have no idea which direction he's going to go in. And he's standing again on Coutinho's leg. He's gripping the far leg. And rather than initiate to a pass, Gary just effortlessly kneels into a saddle position. It was so slick. Like, it hadn't even occurred to me, and it clearly didn't occur to Coutinho. Like, because then Gary's immediately in the saddle, and it takes him, a second and a half, 2 seconds to get the inside heel hook submission.
It's super quick.
It's very quick.
He just drops into it. Like, it reminds me, Tonon and Husamar, their entries are, like, every other guy will they'll drop in and they'll roll to a heel hook. Gary and Husamar both drop exactly into the position, and then they're on the foot already. It's
right.
I can't. We've done like 60 shows where I've been trying to explain exactly what's different about it, but it's like they have no rotary motion in their entry.
So
they drop straight into the position and then start fighting the one joint they want.
So yeah, there was. We'll talk about that finishing sequence because actually it occurred to me that this was the first attempt.
Yeah,
so,
he doesn't get it the first time.
He doesn't get it the first time.
I thought we were going to gloss over the first attempt.
He resets. Now he resets. So this first time he's standing on Kushino's leg and he drops to he kneels into a saddle position. The second time he does it, he starts off standing on Kushino's leg, then he gets off of it and starts cutting back and forth to which direction he's going to pass, and he waits for Kushino to switch his hips, and
he commits to basically commit the side his leg is going to be on.
Exactly, and then Gary backsteps into saddle. Yeah, and exactly.
The
like
timing
Nate
on it
said.
was crazy because you see him figure out, okay, Kushino's going to commit his hips here. The leg is going to be in this position. He's not going to be able to switch back, so I'm going to be able to step as he's moving this and drop directly into it. And it was such a great way to cut a guy off at the pass.
Yep.
Not like the pass in jiu-jitsu, but like going one way and then I'm going to get here first.
Yep.
You crazy. Like him, dude, the entries that he has are some of my favorite entries to watch because they just happen. There's no, he's rolling for it, he's spinning for it. Gary Tonin just goes, I'm going to go for this leg lock here. And then just steps right, like straight into the position. It's super nifty to watch. It's really, really visually pleasing to watch as well. And I love covering Gary Tonin. Anything more on the match, or we'll talk about the call out?
No more on the match. Yeah.
So then they do an interview after, and Howell's like, "Hey, Ty Rotolo called you out. Do you want to fight him?" And Gary Tonin, he didn't do the thing where it's like, "Yeah, I'd love to fight him." He did the thing where it's like, "I'm not gonna say I want this matchup, but I'm not like against the matchup." Whereas like if the matchup is offered to me, at the right time, the right price, I will take the match. But I was like, cool, like I can respect that. It wasn't like, I want to fight him. It was like, yeah, I'll be the old veteran, that's fielding like the young guys coming in, like want to take out the legend. So I was like, cool, like he's down for the matchup. He didn't say he's gonna take it, but he was like, if it's there, I'll do it. And again, that's what matchup I want to see because now Ty has a win over Nicky. He showed he really has improved his leg game. Gary is a really complete grappler. I'm interested in that matchup now. Ty has a win over Wagner in a fight to win rule set. Like, I'm down for that matchup. That's a really, really good matchup. I think Ty is probably bigger than Gary though. Now,
I don't know.
What do you think Gary walks down?
I have no
70
idea.
Probably.
Less than that.
Gary's a little bigger than me, and I walk around at like. Actually, Gary's much more muscular than me, but I walk around at like 50. I'm like 145 right now. He's not cutting much weight for one. He makes 155 at one without cutting water.
Right.
So he can like diet and like get in shape to 155. So
probably
I'm guessing
like 165.
165, 170. Jimenez is 180 plus if he's cutting, and he took on Ty. So it's like, I think it's a match I want to see. I kind of got off kilter there. We'll talk about those results.
Yeah, let's do it.
You got him up or no?
Let me scroll down. Here we go. Yep. So we have Gilson Nunez defeating Vinicius Nunez via triangle. Ermelio Lima defeats Edmacian Moraes via decision. Diego Ramallo defeats Alex Larmy via decision. Troy Russell defeats Andrew Franco via triangle. Danilo Soares defeats Dylan White via no arm triangle. Jose Alencar defeats Jay Shellhammer via armbar. Joshua Pike defeats Estres Jr. via decision. Enrique Rossi defeats Willis Nunez via decision. Tiago Pereira defeats Jimmy Lugo via Kimura. Silva Duran defeats Juan Garcia via decision. Samuel Nagai defeats Eric Koh via choke. Tyler Murrah defeats Bobby Alexander via decision. Colton Rolfs defeats Wally Thompson by Kimura. Italo Lima defeats Theo Lee via decision. Noel Morgan defeats Jeff Horn Jr. via decision. Brittany Elkin defeats Bailey Luttrell via decision.
Good to see Brittany back.
I was about to say, Brittany, she's the writer?
No, former Fight to Win camera person. She was also, at one point, the champion. There's 2 former brown belt champions on here. Brittany used to be the brown belt champion. Eric Coe, a couple matches ago, used to be one of the brown belt champions at Fight to Win.
Awesome.
So good to see them both back. I know they're both Denver, so I think Seth flew some Denver people out for this one. I know there's a couple other Denver folks on the card, so it's cool to see like Fight to Win having their roster and like bringing their roster back in still.
Renee Souza defeats Daniel Roy via heel hook. Felipe Timoteo defeats Nick Hensley via paper cutter. Jorge Meza defeats Levi Mora via knee bar. Erica Barnes defeats Mina Turner via decision. Gabriel Costa defeats Mason Roy via knee bar. Spencer Jiha defeats Spencer Fossier via split decision.
I love same name matchups.
Yep.
I love them.
Michael Haynes Mauler defeats Dimitri Thompson via bow and arrow. David Weintraub defeats Emerson Rogerio via decision. James Tyson defeats Isaac Rodriguez via heel hook. Code Creamer defeats Matthew Falvina via key lock. Dylan Cordell defeats Joshua Alvarado via decision. Marco Brito defeats Colby Hernandez via armbar. Hope Russell defeats Amanda Lopez via Ezekiel choke. And Andrew DeGraff defeats Landon Richards via rear naked choke.
So that does it for Fight to Win 145. I think Fight to Win is off for a couple weeks, and then they're going to return in Austin. I know that they have announced a Subversive card for Miami, and I've actually just lost my my next notes with GrappleFest on it. So give me 1 second here. There we go. So yeah, those are for Fight to Win. We want to move into the preview section.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's move into our preview of GrappleFest 9 on July 4th. Yeah,
in Liverpool.
Saturday. Liverpool, Great Britain. Starts it, the start time's wrong right now. Usually GrappleFest cards run at like 11 a.m.-ish, which is always great to like have July 4th, fireworks, hot dog, whatever you do for July 4th if you're in America. And watch some GrappleFest. So, main event, we got Fionn Davies versus Tayane Porfirio. This is an open weight matchup, as Porfirio, I think, has stated in the past that she can't compete in UAGF because she cannot make the 90-kilogram women's limit. And Fionn competes at under 60 kilograms in ADCC.
That's
so
big difference.
I don't know if they've met each other before. I don't think they have. I think Tayane had a suspension for a year, and I think I don't really know. I don't think they've met before.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see.
I'm really curious about this. If it's in the gi,
they have not.
Okay, if it's in the gi, it's gonna be really tough to beat Porfirio. But Fionn's looked really, really good. We've seen her punching up in open weights. We've seen her take on Baumgardner before. We've seen her take on Hilary Van Orm, I think, before in the European. I forgot who she beat at the Europeans. But
Jessica Flowers.
Flowers, yeah, we've seen her take Flowers on. Like, I am having a really hard time. This got announced, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, and we talked about it a little bit. I don't have an answer for this one. Again, I can see Tayane taking it just because Tayane is super hard to beat at open weight, but Fionn has looked better and better and better and better. But again, it's a big, big weight differential. So
yeah,
I don't.
Right now, it looks like, in the past year, unless you were Bia Mesquita or Bianca Basilio, you have not beaten Fionn Davies.
Yeah.
And one of those she avenged. So,
so it's a really good matchup. It's a kind of an odd matchup, but it's a really, really good matchup. I don't know how to pick it. What do you think, Emil?
Yeah, I can't pick this one. I think it's going to be exciting regardless. So one thing that is awesome about watching Fionn is she's constantly going for the submission. She's
super active submission fighter. So
yep.
Big fan of Fionn. I love covering her. Next match, we have Jackson Souza versus Dan Strauss.
Oh, Dan Strauss we haven't seen in a little while.
I think we last time on either Polaris or Quintet, actually.
Yeah, I think we've seen him commentate on Polaris.
Yep. And I've seen him lift heavy things on Instagram. I think
Quintet might be the last time we saw him compete.
Maybe. That's a tough match. We're taking off Jackson Souza.
Yeah.
I assume it's a no-gi bout. I don't think Strauss competes a ton in the gi. I should have actually asked him before this. That's a tough match for Strauss. I see Souza taking that. We've seen a ton from Souza recently. Looked really, really good. We got Ash Williams versus Kevin Corkle for under 70 kilograms.
Yep.
I think Ash is the champion still. Did he beat Rotolo?
Ash Williams. Let me double check.
Well, I'm getting my.
I know we see him constantly on GrappleFest and Polaris.
Mm-hmm. You know, UK. I always forget. I apologize to all the international listeners. Welsh, but I was like, I don't remember which one is part of like Great Britain.
You can just say UK and not worry about it.
Okay, the UK is the big one?
Yeah.
Okay. UK grappler.
Yes.
Ash Williams.
Yep.
Super submission hunty style. It's a lot of fun to watch. Not as familiar with Kevin Corkle, but I know that I really enjoy covering Ash.
So Ash lost to Cade Rotolo at the last GrappleFest.
So Cade now has the title there. So this is probably another title eliminator for GrappleFest. GrappleFest does a really great job doing that. Like, this guy beats this guy, they will fight for the title next. I always appreciate that about GrappleFest. You're able to keep the storyline present for GrappleFest. So this is probably a number one contender match for the under 70 kilogram belt. We also have Lou Long versus Ben Hills. We have Chris Wash versus Freddie Sykes and some other really, really fun grapplers. It should be a lot of fun. There's some other events announced for this week, but a lot of them have moved around. Looks like the Gamblers GP moved, and Spider Korea. There's nothing out right now for when that's going to be, but I assume they're going to...
Road to Black Belt?
Yeah, Road to Black Belt. They'll move that maybe into next month, but I'm just not sure right now. We'll let you know whenever that happens. Also coming on the pipe later this month, or later beginning of next month, the Polaris GP, the Zapatero 155 Invitational, Jiu-Jitsu Overtime, the Kumite 4 for Third Coast, Subversives coming back, Third Coast Grappling 4, Subspectrum Woodstock, AJP's doing their Grand Slams in September. You can check it all on the Grappling Rewind website /events, grapplingrewind.com, where I try to keep that as curated and updated as possible with what we're finding out, events are moving around. But yeah, it'll be a fun week for grappling. You got anything going on this weekend?
Nah, man. Same old.
You do anything fun this weekend?
Rehabbing my hip, but yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's funny doing a restorative activity like yoga and then end up
with a hip injury.
Well, inciting a hip injury with it.
Jesus. Rachel and I yesterday went, we got a kayak from like Amazon, like a blow-up kayak. It's like a nice blow-up kayak.
Oh, I saw this. Is this when you guys got caught in the rain?
Maybe.
Jesus.
So Rachel and I are planners, Emil. Mm-hmm. So we figured out, somebody told us, yeah, go park one car here, get in the river, and float down to this other place, which is right near our house. And we went, okay. And I was like, how long is this? And Rachel was like, I don't know. And so we got in the river, and then we proceeded to riverboat and float and get out and move the kayak over rocks for 4 solid hours. I did not anticipate this being a 4-hour excursion, and about 3 hours into it, all of a sudden it just starts torrentially raining on us.
Like
and I took
monsoon level.
Yeah, Rachel took a nice. I took a nice Instagram video, and then Rachel posted it to her Instagram, and it just made me laugh because we were like 3+ hours into this trip at that point. We were both like, I'm kind of cool with like getting in and out of the kayak, like taking it over rocks, because the river's just not quite high enough to do what we wanted to do. And then we got just dumped on, and then we slept very good that night.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I had run the morning before that. I'm almost 50 miles for the month, trying to get there, and I was not anticipating another 4-hour kayak trip after. But it was a lot of fun. We're safe, had a good time. We were able to socially distance from everyone, so that was super nice. But
sweet.
Yeah, I got nothing planned for 4th of July. So you got anything else going on this week?
That's it.
Awesome. So I think that does it. As always in the show, I'm your host, Mange, with my co-host,
Emil.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.